So we just finished exploring our general settings and now moving on to our home settings. These settings are specific to your home page when using a dynamic home page. That means you haven't assigned a static home page, but rather using what is default, which is dynamic. Here we can assign either an image slider or video background. Our next option is to assign a slider category if using an image slider as our home page. If we want to enter multiple categories, we would just separate each category ID by a comma. To determine what slider categories we have, we would go to the slider post type, find the slider categories, and we would review in the ID column what ID is associated with that slider. Next, we have assign the number of slider items. So if we only want 5 of those 10 slider items to display, we would enter the number 5. Your slider intervals and slider transitions are controlled in milliseconds. So 5,000 milliseconds would be 5 seconds. Your slider transition types can be fade, slide top, slide right, slide bottom, slide left, carousel right, and carousel left. Next, you can control the slider order. So default is descending by date, random order, custom ID, or ascending by date. We can display the description at the top of the website by checking this box, and we can change the alignment of that placement by putting in our pixels here. Slider titles and descriptions can be enabled or disabled by showing only slider images, titles and descriptions, only title, or only descriptions. Slider controllers. These are your play, pause, next, and previous buttons. You can enable or disable the slider controls. Slider control position can either be on top of your content or below your content. If at the top of your home settings you've chosen to use a video as your background, here you would insert the URL for either your YouTube, Vimeo, or MP4 video. You can enable, disable autoplay. You can enable, disable control bars, as well as enable, disable video repeat. Remember, once making all your changes, to save all changes so those can be applied. If any questions or concerns, we recommend you register with our support forms by visiting rwebmedia.com/support.